Hi everyone, and welcome back for another tutorial in UE4. And in this episode we are going to begin a series of videos, not as long as any other series, but these won't happen all together. They'll be released sporadically, but nonetheless a little series of related videos of how to do a first person shooter, and more in particularly how to turn this first person template that you can get in Unreal 4 to an actual shooter game, similar to one you'd find in the shops. So our end goal is to have it so we have multiple guns. Well, in fact, we're going to go for a sort of Borderlands style where we can just spawn randomized guns, so randomized loot, which then you can equip to your player using an inventory system, and different guns doing different things with different stats. Okay, so in this first episode we're going to take a look how to transform the first person template that we start off with into a more manageable and usable starting point for our own game. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at today is changing this template to meet our needs. So the way I've got it set up is, and the way this is going to work, is we're going to have as you can see in the content browser, we're going to have a gun parent which handles some of the code of shooting, stop shooting, and the firing of a bullet. And from that parent, we're going to have more parents. We're going to have a child called gun fully automatic, gun semi-automatic, gun burst. Basically, a gun for every type of gun you want to make. So if you want to make a charged gun, so when the player holds down the trigger and then releases it to release the shot, we can do that too. So the idea being is you make multiple types based on every kind of type of gun you want to make, and then we start making randomized loot. We simply just make one of those and change up some of the values upon the spawning of that item. So we're going to start off today not with this stuff, but with how to get to this point. So we have to gut a lot of the code that is in the first person blueprint and the way it's set up, because in its default state, the first person template isn't that great. It feels cool when you first load it up. So here I've got one blank one up. It feels cool when you first load it up because you're like, yeah, I'm shooting a gun, but actually no game is like this. We don't have a single gun, you have multiple guns, and bullets don't do this. They're not projectiles, mostly anyway. They're more shots, so we're going to look at how to do those as well. Alternate fires and all sorts of things like that. Okay, so let's get cracking. So this is our first person template we'll be working on today, and we are going to change this chap up to be ready for our future videos for our guns. Okay, so let's get cracking. First thing we'll do is go into our blueprints in a first person BP folder and open up our first person character. Now the first person character, we're going to gut a few things from here. So we don't need to have go to viewport. We don't need this arms and guns and the VR controls, because we're going to add our own ones into there in a moment. So we're going to select all of that junk there and hit delete. Okay, if I compile now, you're going to get a ton of errors because our code is referencing a lot of this stuff. So let's get rid of it. So what we've got here, so this code is all about head mounted displays and motion controls. I ain't bothered by VR or motion controls in this instance, so I can delete all of this VR stuff up here. And we don't need the spawn projectile code because we are going to do our own code on our individual guns, so we don't need that at all. Get rid of that. And the last thing you need to do if you're using this template to start off with is go into construction script and delete this attached to component and click compile, and all the errors should disappear. So our first person character is now set up. Now the way this works is we're going to add a child actor, which is going to be our gun, to the player. So to do that, we're going to go add component and go add, just do child actor. Okay, I'm going to call that gun, and I want to attach this child to the first person camera. So click and drag it on top of the first person camera. The tick should appear and it will indent to show you that it has been parented successfully. So now we've got that empty child actor there. We now need to make that actual actor for us. So click compile, and I'm going to minimize that for now. And I'm just going to make a folder to keep myself organized. I'll call it guns. And in here, we're going to make our new gun actor. So go to right click, blueprint class, actor, and you want to choose the name of gun underscore parent. You can name it however you like, but that's just one way of doing it. Open up your gun parent, and with this one we need to first of all set up its components. So the components on the left hand here are basically what we deleted from our first person character. So let's just add all that back in. So we need a skeletal mesh, and that's going to be our arms. We need another skeletal mesh, and that'll be our guns. And lastly, we need a scene component, and that's going to be our barrel reference. Okay. So we have our arms and guns and barrel reference. You want to make sure that they are attached to each other. So the barrel reference point is attached to the gun, and the gun is attached to the arms. Okay. So now we need to choose the meshes. So the guns is going to be the gun mesh. Obviously, if you've got your own meshes, which we will have in the future, you just choose which one you want it to be here. It doesn't really matter because it's the parent one. You can change all of this later on. And in the arms, change the player arms. There they are. And I want to use the blueprint for first person anim. So notice how the gun isn't actually in the hands of the arms. Now the way this works is you have things called sockets. So on the gun, the mesh, if you double click on it, has what we call sockets. And if I go to the skeleton up here on the top right, I can see two sockets, and I've got muzzle on the end there, and I've got grip point on the grip. So grip point is the socket we need to attach to the hands of the gun. And that's basically how it works. You just you have sockets to basically predefine transforms that you want to locate to. So I'm just going to close that, and back on our gun parent, I need to attach this gun to this hand. Well, pardon me for yawning, it's been a long day. In the construction script, this script will run all the time as soon as it's created, including in the editor, so we can see it working whilst we work. And you simply just want to attach to component, and the target is going to be the gun. So drag the gun component out and drag it onto target. Oh, target is actor, sorry, my bad, wrong one. Drag out, attach to component guns, and drag arms onto the parent. So the parent is the arms, and the target is the guns, and we're telling the gun to grip to snap to the grip point of the socket. The socket called grip point. Losing my words. Be careful, it has to be spelled exactly the same, capital letters and all. So with that socket name, we have attached it, but notice it doesn't go into arms yet. That's because we have this as keep relative for each one of these. So just change that to snap to target, and that will snap it to the location, rotation, and positioning of our hands. Let me click compile. There you go. And because it's attached to the hands and the hands are animated, you can see the gun moving along with the hands just fine. The next thing is the barrel reference point. So this thing we just need to move to the front of the gun by the barrel, and that's going to be used to determine where the bullets come from. When we're done here, click compile. Now we need a couple of variables for this thing to hold the details of the gun. So let's add them now. So click on the plus variable, and the first one we want is firing. So typing is firing, and that's a boolean. It's a good idea to name booleans as questions. So is firing will return either true or false. It makes the language a lot easier to understand if you're reading it. the next variable is the ammo current, and that's currently how much ammo you have, and that will be an integer. Click compile, and its default value we'll set as 15. Another one, ammo max, still an integer. I'm going to leave as 100 as a default, and another variable, and this one's going to be clip size, and that's going to be an integer again with a size 15. And lastly, for the time being, we want a fire rate. We'll add more to this later on when we start dealing with damage and other things like that. But fire rate for now it will be a float. That's the time, and we're going to put in a default time of 0.15. Okay, so head on over to the event graph, and we're going to set up a couple of events and a function for this to work. So the first event we want is a custom event, so type in custom event and click add custom event, and we want this one to be start shooting, and that is going to simply, all it's going to do is change the is firing boolean to true. So drag the is firing out, choose set, and tick the box to set it to true. And conversely, we want one called stop shooting. Oh, so we need to type in custom event, sorry. Stop shooting. And is firing this time will be left as false, so don't tick the box. Okay, so with that done, we now need to make our function, and our function is going to be called fire bullet. So click on the plus function and call fire bullet. And fire bullet is going to be the thing that actually fires the bullet out of the gun. Okay, so let's just do that quickly then. So for fire bullet, we want to first of all get the owner of this child actor. We want to get the location and rotation details from the whoever's holding this gun. Okay, this could be the player, could be the enemy, could be whatever. Okay, so right click here and type in get parent actor, and from the parent actor you want to cast this to, in this case, the first person character. If you're doing NPCs, the way this will be slightly different is you will have an NPC character where you have all this set up on, and your first person character and the NPC, the actual enemies and NPCs, will inherit from the parent character, and you would cast to the parent character here. Okay, so that's how you'd work that out. Okay, so don't get too confused if you want to work out for an enemy. We may get time to do that later on, but we'll see how we get with this so far. So the reason why I have to cast to the first person character is because we need to access the rotation of the first person camera. So from here, get first person camera. If I scroll down, it's usually at the bottom. Choose get first person camera, and the reason why we need that is because we need its rotation. So get world rotation, and we also need to get a location of where the bullet's going to spawn. So go to barrel ref point, get world location. At the moment we're just going to do it with the projectile, the yellow bouncing ball projectile. Later on we'll come back and change this to accommodate for hit scan weapons as well. Okay, so from here the cast will then go off to a spawn actor from class node, and we'll need to choose the projectile from there. Drop down, and its transform will be a combination of these two. So right click on the spawn transform and choose split struct pin, and hook up the transform location and the transform rotation to our world rotation and world location. Okie dokie. With that done, we now need to play the animation of our character. So from the arms, drag the arms out, and we need to get the anim instance. Basically this just returns the animation that is driving the mesh. Okay, so from this one we can type in montage play, and choose the firing montage from the drop down. All this will change based on your own meshes, your own animations, but hopefully you guys know how to make how to trigger your animations and trigger your meshes to do what they need them to do. Here, just replace this stuff with your own things, but we're just using a first person template here, so this is what you do to get the first person template to do this. And we're done with this. If you want to add sound effects, you can add them here, but usually you want to add them on the children guns, not the parent. So that'll do for this. We'll click compile, and we'll close that, and close this, and actually close the whole thing. Right, so now we need to add our gun parent to the gun class here in our first person character. So click on gun on this child actor component, and on the right hand side you'll see a drop down that says none next to child actor class. Click on that and choose the gun parent for now. Gun _ parent, and you'll see it spawn into it like so. So now we just need to position this correctly. So let's just move this down. And it usually helps if you click on the character in the game and pin it. You want to be able to see both, so you can tweak the positioning and layout of your gun. So that's a bit twisted there, so we need to just rotate this a little bit. Let's just type in a value and let's go 2, and we'll go 10. No, we'll go 8. What's that look like? It's a playing, you just play around to get what you want. Yeah, that looks like it might be alright. Okay, so now we need to get the gun to actually fire, because remember we deleted the code previously that was on our first person character to fire the gun, which was down here. So now we need to call our shooting stuff from our gun. So right click and type in fire, which is the input action that's been set up already in this template. So if you're using the template as a starting position, this is what you call, but if you're using your own, hopefully you know which one you need to call to trigger the firing of your gun. So with this one, we now need to get the gun, so drag the gun component out, and from there we need to get the actor, child actor component from it, because this is just a component, basically like a box, and this is the actual actor that's inside that box. We're going to cast to it gun parent, and hook up to fire like so. And with that done, we are going to then, as gun parent, call the start shooting, and we also want to call the stop shooting as well from it, which will be plugged into the release key. Click compile, and that's all we have to do here. So clicking on the button, on the mouse button, will trigger the start shooting, and releasing it will say stop shooting. On this chap here, start shooting will turn is firing to on, stop shooting will turn it to off. Okay, so the gun parent actually doesn't shoot anything. Okay, we'll need to change that based on what type of gun we want to make. So let's quickly make a simple gun similar to the one you get in the first person template. So I'm going to go back to my content browser. I'm going to right click on my gun parent and choose create child blueprint class. And I'm going to create a semi-automatic, which is what you start off with in the template. Basically a gun that reloads automatically when you release the trigger. So reloads a bullet, not a clip, obviously. So open up your semi-automatic, and you'll see it all inherited the meshes and animations, everything you see there. The event graph is empty, so you can put your own code on it, but it inherits everything from it. So I can call all the same functions, all the same nodes, everything. So to prove that, if I right click here and type in start shooting, you'll see event start shooting. I'm going to click on that, and if I want it to call I'm going to start up the parent so you can see both at the same time. If you want it to call this stuff as well as its own stuff unique to itself, you need to create a call to the parent node. And you do that simply by right clicking and going add call to parent function, and you'll get this little node come up. Hook that up, and basically that means if it starts shooting a trigger, and then it will go into the parent, do that, and then carry on. Okay, so you can put this anywhere you like, but it's best in this case to put it at the start. And we're simply just going to call fire bullet function. And we're going to do leave that as compile. And go back to my first person character and just change the gun actor over to that new gun that we just made, the semi-automatic. Click compile, go back to your game, and there you go. I've got exactly the same thing that I started off with in the first one template. The difference though now is that I can easily add more guns that do more things, more fancy things, and I can add unique effects to different guns, and eventually get to the point where we can generate random guns as loot, store that in an inventory, and allow the player to equip that. And we'll even get to a point, hopefully, if we have time, to make it so it is like Borderlands style, where we get guns that randomize their look and feel as well as what they do. Okay, so we'll make them change the way they look by models and textures randomly as well. And if we want, we can make that alter the way it is named and how it behaves. We can do all sorts of things with that. So this method gives you a lot more freedom to create all different types of guns a lot easier and a lot quicker than if you were just to keep tacking on with the first person character rather than separating it out. It's better to separate your guns so you can customize each of them separately. So if I break one, it doesn't break the whole character. Okay, that'll do for this episode. In the next part, we'll go into how to make the gun a fully automatic gun, so you can make a machine gun. And what I'm hoping to do is do several videos of different types of guns. So next week will be the fully automatic one, and the week after maybe a different type of gun, and another video down the line will be a different one, and then a different one, until we get enough, and then we'll look at going into other features like reloading, alternate fires, all those sorts of things. Whilst I'm here, please, big shout out, thank you for everyone that's supported me so far on Patreon. Very much appreciated. If you do like these videos, head on over to patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you can donate, get to see videos 2 weeks ahead of time. And if you donate $10 or more, you can also get access to these files and download them yourself and have a play, get access to Discord, have a chat with me, see what I'm working on, and yeah, have a good time. Anyway, that'll do for this episode. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Hi everyone, if you do like these videos and you have liked what I've done in the past and want to see what else I can do, all your support is greatly appreciated on YouTube. However, I do have a Patreon set up as well where you can support me even further. Money donated by yourselves will help me make better videos and better content, and more frequently, hopefully. Plus, it will help me develop my own projects. Currently, I'm in a project at the moment, and I'll hopefully be able to share that with you soon. If you do choose to donate and subscribe to us on Patreon, you do get access to videos 2 weeks ahead of time, plus there are many other rewards available to you too. So head on over to www.patreon.com/Ryan Laley, and thank you for all your support, and I'll see you next time. Bye.